Washington, the first round of President Donald Trump's punitive tariffs on China will hit the full $50 billion in goods starting August 23, the government announced Tuesday. Washington has already imposed tariffs on $34 billion in Chinese products, but it initially held off on the final $16 billion as a result of concerns raised by U.S. companies. Washington already imposed 25% tariffs on $34 billion in Chinese products on July 6. But it held off on a final $16 billion as a result of concerns raised by U.S. companies. Although the move was expected, it cements the view that there appears to be no effort underway to defuse the dispute between the world's two largest economies that have continued to exchange threats. China has already retaliated with duties of its own, and has pledged to match the United States dollar for dollar with new tariffs, including on the next $16 billion. Americans import far more from China than the other way around, however, meaning Beijing may at some point need to look for other means of retaliation. Washington and Beijing are locked in battle over American accusations that China's export economy benefits from unfair policies and subsidies, and especially from the theft of American technological know-how. Trump, who has boasted that trade wars are easy to win, has threatened to ramp up the pressure and slap tariffs on virtually all of China's exports to the United States if Beijing does not back down and take steps to reduce the $335 billion U.S. trade deficit with that country. The dispute has continued to escalate, as Trump last week threatened to jack up the tariff rate on the next $200 billion in Chinese imports his administration plans to target to 25%, from the planned 10%. Beijing has called on U.S. officials to be cool-headed, but fired back, warning it would impose duties on an additional $60 billion in U.S. goods, a threat the White House dismissed as weak. 279 more products targeted. The Office of U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said its exhaustive investigation showed China's acts, policies and practices related to technology transfer, intellectual property and innovation are unreasonable, undiscriminatory and burden U.S. commerce. USTR said there were 279 new goods to be targeted in the latest round of tariffs. Those include imports like motorcycles, tractors, railroad parts, electronic circuits, motors and farm equipment. U.S. industries and farmers have been caught in the crossfire, and the Trump administration announced $12 billion in aid to help farmers hurt by Chinese duties on crops such as soybeans. Trump's aggressive trade actions have drawn sharp criticism from business and from members of his own Republican Party, as well as numerous warnings that in continuing to ramp up the trade war will harm the U.S. and global economies. In May, Chinese importers trying to beat Beijing's looming counter-tariffs led to a surge in U.S. exports of crude oil and soybeans, temporarily driving down the trade deficit and helping boost GDP growth in the April to June period to 4.1%. Growth rate was the strongest in nearly 4 years, and Trump said it was further proof his economic policies were working.